What's up, East Coast Pool Chasers? We are excited to announce that we will be attending the 2019 Pool and Spa show in Atlantic City. Our good friends Greg Garrett and Chris Marcano ranted and raved about the show and the educational side of it, so we knew we had to be a part of it. We hope you guys will take the opportunity to come to the show, and we can't wait to hang out with you guys. So we'll see you in Atlantic City, Pool Chasers.
Welcome to your go-to podcast for the pool and spa industry. My name is Tyler Rasmussen.
And my name is Greg Villafania. And this is the Pool Chasers Podcast. Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us today on the Pool Chasers Podcast. Our mission is to help educate and inspire in the form of a podcast. Today, we have a special guest with us, Dominick Mondi, who is the Executive Director of the Northeast Spa and Pool Association. Thank you so much for joining us today, Dominick.
Happy to be here, guys.
Thank you. So Dominick is here to talk with us today about the Pool and Spa Show, which is in Atlantic City, which we're very excited to be attending the show and talk more about it. Our good friend Greg Garrett was talking to us quite a bit about the show and all the good things that are going on over there. So we're really excited to kind of be a part of that.
Yeah, so let's get started on this. Can you please introduce yourself to our listeners and what you do exactly?
Sure. So, like Greg said, I'm Dominick Mondi. I'm the Executive Director of the Northeast Spa and Pool Association. NESPA as an organization has been around for 60 years. I'm the third Executive Director since they've had one, and have a background in association management, worked for other trade-type organizations, initially with the landscape industry. My background before that is actually in landscape architecture. A little different than the pool industry, but certainly some elements as far as managing a seasonal business and design and whatnot overlap. So it's been exciting to bring some of those experiences bear here for the pool industry. As I like to say, you guys work in the industry, I work for the industry.
That's cool. That's
right.
Cool.
And did you see a lot of similarities between the pool industry and the landscape industry?
A lot of similarities and a lot of differences, and not always where I thought they would be. I'm amazed every day as I learn more and more about how technical this industry is. The chemistry, the construction, there's what needs to be known to be truly a professional in the pool industry is pretty remarkable. But there's certainly a lot of overlap as far as, like I said, seasonality is a big thing. A lot of similar challenges as far as business operation, cash flow, employee management, recruitment, all those things. There are a lot of similarities between challenges in the landscape industry and challenges in the pool industry.
Yeah, definitely. It seems like the pool industry flows more over into the landscape industry more than kind of the other way around, where landscape kind of flows into the pool industry, because it seems like a lot of pool builders are building pools and kind of doing the whole entire backyard and then sort of keeping up with that type of weekly maintenance and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a synergy there. So you see it a little bit both ways, but I would agree with what you're in the Northeast. I'd say you definitely see it. You see a lot of collaboration in my experience and what I've seen so far. We have pool builders, landscape contractors. Sometimes it's an under one roof organization. Sometimes it's two separate companies, but under one umbrella. And a lot of times it's just business partnership type relationships where you have a pool builder and a landscape construction company, and they, refer work and work together on projects.
Nice. So we kind of always try to ask a little bit about background and where did you kind of grow up? How did you have a pool growing up? And how did you it seems like you kind of just joined the industry through this, but how did you what's your experience with the pool industry?
Yeah, well, I grew up in New Jersey. I've lived in New Jersey my whole life. Our office is based in New Jersey. Went to Rutgers University for landscape architecture. Like I said, did have a pool growing up. Pretty standard rectangular liner pool. Had an old-fashioned springboard on it and been swimming since I was able to swim.
Nice.
Varsity swimmer in high school. Always been in the water. But as you said, really got into this industry. I've designed pools when I was doing my landscape design work and as a landscape architect, but never built anything, at least not directly. And the opportunity came up with NESPA. It's an incredible organization. Like I said, it's been around for 60 years. We're closing our 60th year. It's a strong organization. It's got well over 850 members, covering 4 states. So when the opportunity came, it was an easy decision to come on board here and help take NESPA to the next stage and grow the industry.
For sure. Did you do a lot of cannibals off that old springboard?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. It's amazing that it didn't snap in half.
Right. Did you have to take care of the pool growing up, or did you guys have somebody?
No, we did it. I mean, when I was young, that was my mom's thing, and then we helped out a little bit more, me and my sister, as we got older. My parents are still living in that same house, and they still have that pool, and they have a pool service contractor that does the work for them now.
Nice. You've earned it, Mom.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Seems like the moms are always taking care of the pools all the time.
Yeah. Dads take care of the lawns, mom take care of the pool, right?
Yeah. I'm surprised we don't see more moms at the pool shows. Just kind of figuring out some new trick tips on what they need to be doing with their pool.
For sure. Cool. Well, one of our favorite questions to ask is, do you have any favorite books or podcasts that you enjoy, help kind of motivate you? Or
let's see. My favorite book to think about and reference and go back to is a business book called From Good to Great by Jim Collins. You guys familiar with it?
Yes.
Very
good stuff.
It's been updated a few times. I should probably go back to it again, but it's a classic, and I find myself regularly referencing back to it in my head as I'm thinking through things. A pool book I read recently that I really enjoyed was called Contested Waters, and it's the history of public swimming pools in the United States, and really in the Northeast and Chicago, because that's where the initial urban centers were. And it's about the pools and how they got built, how they got approved through city councils and whatnot. There's a lot of social justice type issues connected, both class and race. It was a really interesting read if you are into the bigger picture pool stuff.
Wow, that is amazing. I'm looking at it right now. In Barnes & Noble, this thing has like 7,000 reviews. That is crazy. I mean, it just kind of trips us out because sometimes you think that nobody cares so much about this kind of stuff, but there's quite a few people that do. Yeah, we'll have to definitely check that out.
Definitely.
It was a good read.
Yeah, so is this talk about the history of is that what you're saying? It's kind of like the history of kind of how this, came about in the world, or the US or the UK?
Really focused in the United States. And like I said, it's not a Northeast history, but that's just, it focuses on certain areas, Boston, New York, Chicago, just because there's good records. And like I said, those were well-developed urban areas around the turn of the century, and carries through to sort of the 50s Levittown, where pools and backyards and single-family homes started to become more accessible to the middle class, and people were leaving the cities, and how having a pool in your backyard kind of changed the dynamic of public pools. It's very well researched, very well referenced, and really pretty interesting.
Well, definitely have to check that out. There's actually if you look really hard, there's some good documentaries out there on swimming pools and their history. And it has actually really lengthy history, starting back with a Great Bath, but there's a lot of cool stuff where pools were really designed for royalty, and they were just kind of draining these things like 24/7. But it just got popular within the last probably 50 years or so.
And skating them or what?
Skating them? Oh, that's always been a thing, man.
Cool. You say you have a couple podcasts you listen to?
Yeah, nothing pool related until you guys, but you're on my list now.
Cool.
Yeah, my favorite podcast is probably one out of Chicago called Film Spotting. It's a movie, and I'm not doing pool stuff. I'm movie buffs, movie-based podcasts, latest stuff, indies, things like that.
Oh, nice. What are some of your favorite movies? I like a lot of different types of movies.
Well, that's a loaded question, right? I mean, I could tell you Godfather and Star Wars, but on any given day, it could be Die Hard. It's Christmas, so I guess we got to talk about Die Hard if we're going to talk about movies, right?
Yeah. What are some good indie movies that you like?
Last year's Lady Bird was a really good film. Anything by Damien Chazelle. He did Whiplash and La La Land, and I haven't seen his new movie this year, which is First Man. I don't know, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I could probably go on.
Yeah, you could be on their podcast, talking about indie films.
One of these days.
Well, that's what's so cool about the Netflix and Amazon and different things now is that these these indie movies get a lot more exposure, and it's so much easier than it used to be in watching some of these.
Yeah, especially since they're producing their own movies. And recently Netflix has been picking up really good directors to do work for them. So there's a movie on Netflix right now called The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, which is a Coen Brothers movie. And they're obviously very famous.
Oh, yeah.
So somewhat indie-ish, but kind of mainstream directing duo. And they're making movies for Netflix. So it does create a lot more opportunity.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be so much cooler in the future when they do documentaries on some of these directors because they're just so artistic. Like, you seen a documentary on Stanley Kubrick? It's on Netflix. You seen that?
I haven't yet, no.
But they just had so much raw footage of just behind the scenes and all the things that his right-hand man over the years just kind of collected, and just how artistic and thoughtful Stanley was over the years. And they just had so much stuff from the films and different things like that. I know he's not quite like indie, but he's definitely an interesting guy, but seemed really
probably
cool.
One of the top 10 best directors of all time. So
Stanley's amazing. Since I was a kid, I've always loved his films. But
nice.
Yeah.
So
cool.
we're gonna so you and I are gonna do a Pool Chasers movie spin-off cast.
Collaboration.
Oh man, you don't even know what's in my head, man. I've been thinking of like almost like doing like an Apocalypse Now like version of like the pool industry, going into like, you know, some crazy, like a team coming in on a helicopter into like
Flight
a
of
crazy.
Valkyries.
Yeah, you know, where the customer locks the backyard gate and they have to send in a chopper and a team to somehow get into it.
A flight of drones to survey the backyard.
Exactly. I could see that being a huge hit on Netflix.
Nice.
Cool. Any other business podcasts or anything?
No. Most of the podcasts I listen to are more entertainment based. So I'm a Yankees fan. I listen to a Yankees podcast. Great for commuting, and it's how I kind of keep up with entertainment type stuff that I'm interested in.
Oh yeah. Podcasts are the best. I mean, we listen to everything. I mean, oh yeah, even like WTF with Marc Maron, of course, Rogan, all those are freaking, dude, they're just so much fun. It's crazy. People aren't up on podcasts. Really got to check them out because you could, whatever you're into, everybody's got some type of interest, and you could really just type in, you know, anything these days. And, you know, if you have an author that you like or a company that you like, it's probably going to be on there, some kind of interview or, you know, discussion about it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great way to listen and learn.
Yeah. So at what point when you're younger do you have to decide if you're like I don't know, if you decide that you're a Yankees fan, you go Yankees, Mets, or Red Sox when you live in that area?
My dad's a Yankees fan. My grandfather's a Yankees fan. I had Dave Winfield and Don Mattingly posters on my wall. I'm a Yankees fan. There was
no choice.
There was no decision process.
So you'll be banned from the house if you go any other direction.
I still live in New Jersey, but live outside of Philadelphia. So I live in Phillies Eagles country. And my sons are adopting Philly teams as their own. And it's a little heartbreaking.
Yeah. It doesn't help when they win a championship either.
No,
that kind
of cements the whole thing.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite Yankee, like, of all time?
You know, my go-to answer for that has always been Mickey Mantle.
Nice.
Interesting guy, interesting story. Probably a coin flip between him and DiMaggio, I guess. There's so many great Yankees. It's such a storied franchise, but those two just, no matter how many Yankees come and go, those two just seem to stay on.
Yeah, they got a history of good players, but yeah, DiMaggio's cool. He was a good person too, and kind of his whole entire story is pretty sweet.
DiMaggio was a good negotiator too. He was one of the first players that really understood his value and negotiated great contracts for himself. Which would be nothing contracts in today's terms. But
really?
Yeah, he was playing minor league ball in San Francisco, and the Yankees wanted him, and he actually played hardball with the Yankees, and people told me he was crazy, but that worked out for everybody.
He won.
So look at me now.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit more about NESPA and its role as a regional trade association?
Sure. So NESPA is the Northeast Spa and Pool Association. We've been here for 60 years. Originally started out kind of centered around New York and has grown from a 30, 40 members in one small area to, like I said before, about 850 members of all different types of pool companies across 4 states. So we're in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, including Long Island, and Connecticut. And as a trade association, we represent the pool businesses in our region. Those that are members engage with us in a variety of different ways: education, training, networking. There's obviously leadership opportunities. We're a volunteer-based organization, but a lot of what we do has to do with codes and standards and advocating for the industry and government affairs. And that's where it's a rising tide type situation. Our our members are heavily involved, but we like to think what we do benefits the whole industry.
Sure. Thank you for sharing all that. And what would you say is your guys' just mission moving forward every single year? Is there any goals in particular with time that you guys are really trying to kind of hit every year?
Yeah, I mean, we're always looking to maintain our success and grow from it. So the mission of the organization is to create a professional climate in which to advance commercial activities and address the current and future needs of the pool and spa industry. And it's that future needs part that we really try to stay creative about. We always have to be looking at not just where the industry is, but where it's going, and try and react to that environment in a way that gives our members the tools to succeed. And oftentimes that takes the form of technical trainings. Sometimes it's business training. And a lot of times it's just being a resource for when questions come up. We have a lot of members out in the field, especially in the Northeast, where the seasonal impact on the industry is much more dramatic. We're winterizing pools. When it's opening season, or when the ground thaws and new pools are being dug, we get phone calls on a pretty regular basis with a contractor on a job site with the inspector, and there's a question and they need that question answered when they call because it's holding up the whole job. And so we do some code interpretations. We share stuff with building departments, make sure they're up to date on the latest and greatest in the ISPSC pool world.
Yeah, that sounds like a ton of responsibility. Maybe you can just share with us a little bit of the history of NESPA and, how that came to be.
Sure. So the association really started to grow as our show started to grow, and that created more resources for the association. So we had for a very long time a full-time education director who helped work with the industry to develop programs hand in hand. And we have we now have a communications and marketing director, Kelly McKelvey, who does a tremendous job communicating to the industry. And she fields a lot of those phone calls as far as codes and standards and issues that are happening in the field. Yeah, it's a team effort. So there's a few of us on staff here that do a lot of work. We're employed by the association, but we also have a volunteer board of directors. Each of our 4 chapters have their own boards. We've got volunteer committees that do a lot of the heavy lifting as far as designing programs and giving us that feedback. And that's what makes the organization so strong and relevant, is that we're not a contract company that's just providing a service. We're work full-time for the industry and have very strong connections through our leadership. They're all pool builders or service individuals who are in it every day. They know where the pain points are firsthand, and that's who gives us the information to do the things that we do. So we're not throwing darts or guessing. We're working directly with the people who are in the trenches, come up with programs and solutions.
Yeah, I think that would help quite a bit since, they're the ones doing the day-to-day, and, just because codes might be made up and different things like that, working with people that are actually out kind of doing the work and, dealing with the employees.
Yeah, exactly. They bring a lot. They bring a lot to the table. And like I said, part and parcel to the association is the show. And the show has grown the pool and spa show has grown from a tabletop display in a hotel in Manhattan to what it is now in Atlantic City, which is to say over 100,000 square feet of exhibit space, over 100 education programs, all the industry certifications. It's really where the industry comes alive for a week in January, which in the Northeast is normally, there's not a lot going on in the pool industry in the middle of January, but for a week in Atlantic City, it's alive.
Right. And what would you say is maybe, different from your show and others? Is there a reason why, just so many people go to this show, and we have some friends that go to this show as well. You have nothing but good things to say. And it was just curious how you guys just make it better each year. Are you guys listening to feedback coming in? How are you making it so good?
So great relationships with our attendees and great relationships with our vendors and exhibitors. From the time the show ends, we're talking and asking questions. We're reacting to what's happening in the industry. A good example is one of the largest challenges this year. Everybody we spoke with was finding and keeping labor. It's especially challenging with our seasonal businesses. And this year, because of the full economy, it was even more challenging. So we have a whole 3-hour session at the show based around dealing with this issue. It's a roundtable type format, and I could talk about it more, but the idea to this question is we're always listening, and then we're trying to put together programs that react to what the needs actually are. And then, of course, you can find all the staples here. It's in a great location in Atlantic City. Even though it's the winter, there's so much to do and see. It's very affordable to stay there. Bring multiple people from your companies. So there's a lot of reasons. And the floor, like I said, we got over 100,000 square feet of exhibit space. Anything you might need for the year, any of your existing relationships are probably there. You can talk to them and continue those relationships. And then we tie the two together. So we've got the educational conference and we have the trade show. That structurally isn't that unique. What we do is we put the two together. So we actually have hands-on programs that start in the classrooms in the morning. And then those same attendees come down to the floor, do hands-on work for what they just learned in the classroom. We're doing a tile and coping class in that format this year.
Oh, nice. That sounds cool. Yeah, so maybe you could tell us a little bit of history on the actual show itself.
Sure. Yeah, so the history of the show was a smaller tabletop display meeting in Manhattan in the late 70s, early 80s, persisted like that for some time. And as the show grew and the industry really was growing, as the economy was booming here in our area, the decision was made to move it to Atlantic City. And it was in Atlantic City's Boardwalk Hall for a while. And then as it outgrew that building, now we're in the Atlantic City Convention Center, which is a very large convention meeting space. And that's been in the convention center now for at least 15 to 20 years.
Very cool. What was the reason behind starting it in the first place? I mean, did somebody see a lack of that in the industry, or how was that? Do you know how that discussion was even laid out?
Yeah, I mean, well, while it was very much before my time,
right?
And our first full-time executive director, Joel Caesar, who's a name that somebody listens to your show who's been in the industry for a while would have known Joel. Greg certainly would have known Joel Garrett. He really was instrumental in getting it off the ground and growing it to what it is today. So trade is, if you can imagine a world before the internet, which is difficult for all of us, there was a greater need than there even is today to pull businesses together, to have these opportunities to meet face to face. You hear a lot today that, I could just go buy on the internet. Well, anybody that buys anything knows that that may work for some things, but you can't build a relationship over the internet. And that's why our shows like ours are so important to help members and companies grow. But once upon a time, it was essential. It was the only way you could do business. We pull all major manufacturers and suppliers together in a room and invite all of the contractors, and it was that basic. And it's just grown into what it is today.
Nice. So let's jump into the 2019 show, although my notes say 2018 because I forgot that it's in January. But let's jump into the 2019 show. What are the show dates exactly, and what are the kind of show floor hours?
Yep. So the Pool and Spa Show, powered by NESPA, runs January 29th through the 31st. It is in Atlantic City at the Atlantic City Convention Center, and the education conference starts on the 28th, actually. And then the show floor is open Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday between 11 and 5 on Tuesday and Wednesday, and between 10 and 2 on Thursday, the 31st.
Okay, cool.
And I'll add to that.
Yeah.
That, and one of the other features of our show is that anybody can come, anybody in the industry, I should say, anybody who's in the industry can come and walk the show floor for free if you're a service company or a construction company. If you're a dealer or a vendor, it's a little different. But
right.
If you work in the pool industry, our show floor is just have to show up and register, and it's free.
Cool. That's awesome. Yeah, the show floor is a lot of fun. Sometimes you can get lost in it, but it's definitely a cool place to walk around. Speaking of the show floor, I know we kind of mentioned a little bit, but you guys have the wall, right? So that's kind of one of the highlights of the show is the wall where you can do those hands-on trainings.
Absolutely. So the wall is where it's at on our show floor. Our tagline is that our show is for pool and spa people by pool and spa people, and that is embodied at the wall. And what we mean when we say that is the show is owned by the association. Everything that comes out of the show goes back into supporting the industry. There's no third-party management or anything like that. So the show supports everything else we do throughout the year. So at the wall, you'll not just see great exhibits from great vendors and partners, and I'll mention a few of those, but also industry volunteers who are helping to lead these exhibitions and talk to the attendees and help them understand what they're looking at and answer questions.
Yeah, and looking into it and reading up all about the show, the wall sounds like one of the key components. It seems really cool, much different than any other show we've been to. So it seems like a really unique thing you guys are doing, and really I could see how that's definitely a highlight of the show for sure.
Yeah, and we have great partners that help make that happen. Pentair, Zodiac, Hayward, Raypack, and NPT are all putting a lot into it this year to help make the wall successful.
Nice. Big ballers. Those are always good names to have supporting you for sure.
For sure.
Cool. Well, you mentioned the tagline already. So the theme of the show, we talked about is create your game plan for 2019. So can you please discuss kind of how important it is to go into the trade show, in the conferences with a game plan? Because, we feel like that's pretty vital in making the show as successful as possible for you individually when you attend these things.
Sure. That what we want to help our attendees do is both come into the show with a plan for how they're going to attack the show to get the most out of it, but also make sure the result of that is that they leave the show with a plan and the tools they need to be more successful next year than they were this year. So going into the show, there's a lot of opportunity. You got to know where you are in your career stage and what type of business you're running, and then what you feel you need to be successful. So if you're a business owner and you've been in the business for 10 years, you might need to review all the programs we have and spend a little more time in business-oriented classes if your technical skills are at a level where you feel comfortable. A lot of the attendees are business owners who bring their crew leaders with them or bring some of their employees. They should sit down before the show with those individuals and talk through, okay, we're all going to be there together. How do we get the most out of this? Which classes are you each going to attend? Can you bring that information back to the team? When we're on the show floor, who do we each need to speak to? You can get the information about our show floor, the vendor information. It's all on the website. So you can sit down with your team and say, what do we need to get out of this, and how can we get more done as a team if we have a plan going in of who we're going to meet with and what information we want to bring back.
Cool. We definitely agree on that. It's super important to take the time to figure out what most excites you and what you most want to learn going into there, especially these larger shows. It's like I said, sometimes you can get a little lost in how big they are, but if you go into it with a plan, then you can definitely come out with a plan and move forward in this coming year and help yourself and your team.
Well, that's a big part of it, is in that same scenario, having a post-show discussion and not letting all the information that you collect, all this valuable knowledge, not get turned into action. So when you get back from the show, you should do the same thing. You should sit down with your team, sit down with your coworkers or your partners or whoever you happen to be at the show with, and now pull all that information together. What did you get? What did you get? Here's what I have. How can we use this, make our business better in 2019? There's a new product we can implement, a new technique we can try. And that's what we really want. We want the show to be successful. We want it to be crowded. We want everybody to leave happy and having had a good time. But success is if it makes the attendees better, if it makes the vendors more successful coming out of the show.
Yeah, take what you can out of the show and implement it in your business for sure.
There's no better compliment we can get than seeing somebody the next year saying, hey, I did this that I learned at your show and I was better because of it.
Right. And do you guys have any kind of app or anything like that people can have on them at all times?
We do. The Pool and Spa Show app in our, you can get it from the website. And I'll give the website address a couple times here. You can download it from the website. Our brochures that are in the mail have QR codes that link directly to it. You can search it as the Pool and Spa Show on the go as well.
Yeah. And I'm just looking at your guys' frequently asked questions tab for the attendees. And there's some really cool stuff on here, like how can I search for exhibitors? How do I build a list, favorite exhibitors? How to add sessions to my sessions list. All that stuff is really good stuff. I'm assuming that you would do all that through the application.
You can do a lot of that through the app. Yes.
Yeah, that's
and then
super
you
smart.
have it with you, and you can obviously there's if it's your preference, you can print out a lot of this stuff too and keep notes that way.
Yeah, definitely. And having that app, it's kind of like a really good roadmap. So if you want to go see, Pentair, Zodiac, and Hayward, and, all these different companies, you can kind of have a good list and, just an easier game plan because, not everybody has, days to be at a show. If you only have one day, you got to make the best of it. I think sometimes you want to see everything, but, if you got to be realistic and you only have a day, you want to make sure that, you're seeing the booths that, you came there to see and get the information you needed.
Yeah, if you don't have a lot of time, you especially need to be organized. It's definitely a 2-day show if you really want to get the most out of it. That's what most of the attendees have to say. But you definitely need to be organized. The more organized you are, the better your results will be.
Yeah, I know, because some things would come up with our pool service and repair business where customers would ask us questions that in the beginning we might not have necessarily known. They would just ask like, hey, what do you think about this product? Or can you tell me more about, blah, blah, blah. And we would make note of that, especially when we knew that, the trade show season was going and we were going to Long Beach to do the Western Pool and Spa Show. And we would, go to some of those, exhibitors that we knew that would be there and be like, hey, we got a customer. This is kind of the climate where we're from. What do you suggest in, kind of applying this stuff? There's all kinds of different things. And everybody that's listening to this can definitely probably understand that, customers have asked you for something and you didn't quite know. This is a perfect time for you to make note of that and go to the direct source. Don't talk to, your buddy that you think knows everything, but go to the source and ask, those questions. Not your buddy doesn't know, but, sometimes it's really good to go to the, the people behind it.
Sure. And to that end, you should always build in enough room to discover a little bit too. So you have a plan and you know who you need to see because you have those, predefined questions you need to ask or problems you need solved. But just like you don't always know where those questions are going to come from, don't be afraid to take a little time and hit up a few vendors that you've never even heard of before. You don't know what they have to offer. And maybe it's something maybe it doesn't fit into your business, but maybe it does. Or maybe it doesn't right now. To collect some information, collect some business cards, you learn a little bit. And then when those questions come up in season, you might say, hey, I met that guy at the Pool and Spa Show. He's got a new product that I think is going to work here. So you always want to leave yourself a little room for chance interactions that could bear fruit down the road.
Sure.
Do you have any tips or tricks for the vendors? I didn't get that question on here, but I know you and I talked about it yesterday. Anything that you recommend for someone coming to be a vendor at the show?
We have over 11,000 people that are in the building over the course of the week. We spend a lot of time and energy and money on marketing and promoting the show. For the vendors, it's important that they also think ahead of time, what are things they can do to help get those attendees, once they're in the building and they're on the floor, to come check them out. Obviously, it's a big area. There's things going on. There's the area where the entrance is, and we do a new product boardwalk all the way through the entrance. There's the wall to attract some attention. There's other things on the floor. Vendors can certainly benefit from thinking to themselves, what's my strategy going in? How many leads am I trying to get? Have I spoken with the person who's actually going to be in the booth, if it's not me, about how to engage the audience that's there? Stand in the front of the booth, have handouts, flyers, business cards in your hand. Don't be afraid to stick your hand out and smile and just say hi. If you're on your phone, no one's going to interrupt you to talk to you.
That's good advice right there.
Yeah. So
bring donuts every morning.
Right. We don't want nobody wants to be oversold, but be engaging. Have a smile on your face, shake people's hands, and see where the conversation goes. But the more engaging you are as the vendor, the more success you're going to have at the show. We do have
just be approachable.
Yeah, make yourself available, be approachable. Think of it as you're there to work for the day. You have to have that mindset. And it's like any other retail. It's essentially like a retail location for 3 days. That traffic flow is going to ebb and flow. And if your aisle is slow for a period, you restock your stuff, make sure your counters look good, because at any given moment, a wave might run through and you got to be ready to go.
For sure.
That's really good advice. But like you said, just being cool and just being sincere. There's been so many times where people are just like, you walk up to the booth and they're just so freaking cool, and they're just asking how your day is at the show. And, even something like, oh, we're in this city. I've never been here before, but blah, 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 blah. Like, it's like, chop it up like they're a human being. You know what I mean? Not just right to it. Like, yeah, that's nice. Can I get your email and your first and last name? Yeah.
Right.
I guess.
Here's a credit application. Right?
Yeah. Move on. You got a 600. Move on.
Speaking of names and emails, do you guys have like a badge scanners for the vendors, like, or anything like that helps collect that information?
Yeah, and I was just going to mention that we have well, that's the most significant thing, but we do have resources available for the vendors to either enhance their booths. We have badge scanners. If anybody who listens to your podcast is a vendor or is considering listening to this going, okay, I might want to check that show out, you just have to call us. We've got people here who are go out of their way to help make the vendors feel comfortable and share with them what information is available. We're doing it all day, every day this time of year. So yeah, just reach out to the association, and we can lay out all the different stuff that's available for vendors, and including information about why it's a benefit for them to be there.
Cool. Yeah. So if somebody has not registered yet, how do they do that? And there's an exhibitor list and everything on the website as well, right?
Yeah, go to the website. So it's thepoolandspashow.com, and you can read a little bit more about the wall. You can obviously register for the event. You can get information if you want to exhibit at the event, booth space applications, etc. Find hotels. We have great partner locations around the whole city. You got 7 or 8 hotels with room blocks you could stay over for as cheap as $65 a night. Actually, we just added the Hard Rock. There's a brand new Hard Rock casino in Atlantic City this year, and they're in our room block, which is kind of exciting.
Oh, that's a brand new hotel?
Well, it was.
Or
it
brand
was
new to the block?
That's completely
renovated.
Yeah. But really great locations. If you're familiar with Atlantic City, a lot of the better hotels are on our list. It's a fun place to be, and all that information is on our website. All the special events as well. So in addition to the show and in addition to the education, we have a welcome party on Monday night. I think we just passed 1,000 registered attendees. Last couple of years, it's been closer to 1,500 by the end. It's at the Wild Wild West Casino, and there's bull riding and a band, and it's a heck of an event to kick off the show on Monday night. And on Wednesday night, we have our Outstanding Achievement Award celebration. So if you're a member of the association or interested in what we're doing, we do all our design awards, and give out some of the year type awards at that event. So there's a lot going on. If you want to network outside of just the show itself.
Right. Cool. That's pretty funny. You brought the hotels up because Greg and I were talking earlier today about which hotel we might stay in or something, and we were like, man, neither one of us have ever been to Atlantic City, and we've been to Vegas plenty of times, so we know that like which hotels not to stay in Vegas, and we were kind of like, I hope we don't get stuck in like a hotel that on the wrong side of town or something. So it's cool. You kind of got that block of hotels that helps that out.
Yeah, there's not a bad hotel on our block, and I've been to Atlantic City plenty of times. And we have complimentary shuttle service between all the hotels and the convention center. So even if you're staying, there's only one hotel that's really walking distance to the convention center. But we have a shuttle service that runs. So when you're coming over to the convention center in the morning, there's shuttles at whatever hotel you're staying in, and they run all day. So you don't have to worry about. You certainly could Uber or take a taxi if you want to if you're kind of in between times, but most of the attendees use the shuttle service to get between their hotel and the convention center. Makes it a little bit easier for everybody.
Oh, for sure. That's cool. You guys set that up. Obviously we know, the show can't be brought together without some of the sponsors. So did you want to highlight any of those, and you have anything else you wanted to highlight about the show?
I mentioned, our partners at the wall are our biggest supporters. Pentair, Zodiac, Hayward, Raypack, and NPT all have stepped up this year and in previous years to help me make that wall area what it is. We do have other sponsors and supporters, but like I said, we're a volunteer-based trade association, so it's not. The sponsors are incredibly important to what they do, both in their sponsor dollars, but also the services the added value they bring to the show. Mm-hmm. But it's so many of the individuals that show up to help greet people at the door, to help facilitate at the wall, to help moderate the programs, to help run the welcome party. All of these people show up because for no other reason than they're members of the association. They love the industry. They want to give back. And it's every one of them that makes the show as special as it is.
Very good. So thank you so much for sharing all that. So we're going to jump into more the education side of things. And, before we got started, we were talking about Greg Garrett and his episode and just how, awesome that was. I mean, it was, a lot to take in, but it was really good. And, that second time we met up with him, he was just kind of ranting and raving about the education that's available at this show in particular. Can you tell us why, this is such a big focus for your team?
Because it brings so much value to the attendees, and because we have the opportunity and the availability to put on such a wide array of programs. So there really is something for everybody. Greg is speaking at the show. One of the reasons it's a focus is also because because the show is a week. It's a rock on our calendar. It's one of the most important things we do all year. But we have the opportunity to build programs coming into the show and coming out. So that's part of where this program is so important. One of the programs Greg is working on is a panel discussion that's based on research that our association is doing. So there are some challenges with winter effects, winterization in pool openings and deposits that show up on the surface of plastered pools. There's some times where that's run of the mill and people know how to deal with it. Occasionally we see it where the deposits are harder or they cause some damage, and we're working with a lab to do some research. Well, at the show, Greg's on that team with a few other folks. Chris Marcano's on that team from NC Brands, and we're using the show as an opportunity to explain to the industry what it is we're working on and where it is we're going. So it's not just a education opportunity, it's an engagement opportunity. It's here's work that we're doing, we did through the summer, through the fall, here's where we're at. We're doing this in conjunction with NPC, the National Plasterers Council, and APSP. And it gives us a chance to also speak to the industry and say, this is where we're going this spring. It doesn't end on Thursday afternoon. When you're out in the field, if you see this condition, you need to call us. Here's the protocol we're putting in place to collect sampling. And that's part of why education is so important, because it's not something that just happens for a week and then you forget about it. we really want to see it live beyond the borders of the show. And those are the opportunities we get most excited about. And Greg gets very excited about.
Yeah, he definitely does.
He gets very excited.
Yeah. So on the website, it does state that the Northeast is different and there are some unique challenges. Are these those challenges? And that's what kind of separates you guys, is that, when things arise or challenges, come up in the industry, you guys kind of create an education around those, issues that we're having?
Sure. So other northern climates would have similar challenges as far as the environment and the effect it has on pools. Being where we are in the Northeast Mid-Atlantic, we have freezing conditions all winter. But we really have freeze-thaw conditions, right? So we have temperatures that can fluctuate over the course of a week to single-digit degrees, back up to 45, back down to 15. And so you got water that's freezing, thawing, stuff that's precipitating out through those cold weather climates. There's certain ways to winterize those pools, certain ways to open those pools up. There's conditions that might present themselves, and it is a little unique in that regard. So those are the types of unique challenges that this research in particular we're looking at. But it's true for everything we do. So winterization is a big deal in our area.
We've heard a lot about that, and we've heard a lot of our listeners talking about having more people on to talk about, opening and closing pools. Because we haven't really talked about it because we don't know much about that.
Yeah.
It doesn't get very cold out here, but maybe you could just talk with us about the, general classes that you guys are offering at the show.
So as we talked earlier about being organized going into the show, if you're on our website or if you have a copy of our attendee planner, which anybody could get if they reached out to us, we organize our classes in a couple different ways so that it is easy to follow, because there are a lot of programs. So there's the certification programs, business classes, technical classes, and we have some that we call specialty sessions. They're unique or stand out in some way. So the certifications that are offered at the show are the Certified Pool Operator certification from NSPF, and then APSP certifications, CST, Certified Service Technician, the hot tub program, a CMS, Certified Maintenance Specialist, and the PSCC, the Pool and Spa Construction course. So all of those certifications are available at the show in their full 3-day format, including the testing.
Right. That's awesome. And just curious, what is your opinion on getting these certificates and why that's important to anybody? Because I know there's some people where it's kind of just like, it's just a piece of paper, you know what I mean? But it just seems like it's so much more than that, you can actually take that and hang it on your office wall and put the logo on your website. And, honestly, you're just highly educated. You went to the source and got a certificate because you passed a course. And, you have that advantage over somebody that maybe didn't go through that training. So you're kind of more up to date on maybe, industry trends or, just the updates on certain products.
So something important is that a lot of those programs are full certification programs that have to be maintained. And it isn't definitely incumbent upon the individual to educate their customer for sure. But if you are a certified maintenance specialist, if you have your CMS, you have to maintain that. You have to do continuing education hours. You've got to recertify after, I believe it's 3 years. So it's not just I passed a course and I got a certificate. It's, if I have that, I'm maintaining it. I have to maintain it, or I can't use that designation anymore. So it encourages continuing education and staying up to speed. I am working on reading through APSP's construction manual. If you've ever seen it, it is not light reading, and it should really, if you've never taken one of these programs, it's worth at least exploring, because you should see what it is that you'll gain. So it's one thing to gain the credential, which you can use in your marketing and you can use in your pitch, if you will, to your customers. But it shouldn't be discounted what you gain in straight, raw, pure knowledge that could make you better, that you will be a better pool contractor or service contractor if you have this information. It also puts you into a network, right? So or all the certified builders, all the certified maintenance professionals, you have if you all have the same credentials, you have a relationship there. You can go to another CST and say, hey, what'd you think of the test? Or I found this challenge, and there's a camaraderie and a respect that comes out of it as well.
Right. And I think that's a really cool piece of it as well, that, you'll build a connection with whoever's teaching the class, whoever, might be in the class, and, just kind of build new relationships with people that are obviously at the same place in their business or life that you are. So that definitely helps quite a bit.
These certifications are also in jurisdictions where there's licensing. In many cases, they're connected to pool contractor licensing, and that's a whole podcast on its own. There's plenty of people who might need to get these, and an opportunity at this show or other shows where it's available, but an opportunity at this show is to not just get your certification, but do it as part of a much bigger thing.
Right. Sorry if I don't know this, but do you guys offer any type of basic just business etiquette, everything from customer service, answering calls, even emailing? It's crazy how much a part of the day-to-day that is, and that can sometimes make or break a business if they don't say something correctly on the phone, or they don't email it correctly, or you don't know when a text message is okay or when it's not okay. I mean, you've all had somebody, text at, 10 o'clock at night. It's like, I normally text them. It's like, yeah, but it's like after 4, like, you don't do that, man. It's strictly email, I mean, texting is already, not good for everything, but there's just so many things that really good, companies that are like good at the actual job just sometimes slack in the, just business etiquette, basic business etiquette.
Yeah. So we developed a program last year called From Rookie to All-Star, and we call it From Rookie to All-Star Pool and Spa Fundamentals. And this is the second year we're running it at the show, and we ran it here in our training facility in Hamilton, New Jersey last year as well, separate from the show. And all of those sessions were sold out. And that's what it's designed to be. And we're always adjusting it. As a matter of fact, we're adding more customer service into it. The idea is it's for that brand new employee or newish employee, or maybe that office employee that needs to field a lot of calls but doesn't go out into the backyard, but still needs to be able to maybe not answer questions, but interpret questions a certain way about the water's a certain color, or I'm having a problem with the guy left a certain chemical behind. What do I do? Right? Like anything that could happen, the person answering that phone needs to be able to interpret and get the call to the right place, answer the question if possible. So we actually put together, like I said, we're still every year we're refining it, but a program right around that exactly situation you're describing. And then we do have other stuff as well around marketing. We've got a women's leadership program for women in the business, hiring programs, how to find and keep today's customers. We've got to talk about how, it's called Alexa is playing to win, basically how to compete with the internet. So we do have a lot of options. They're all tagged under our business session.
Very good. Thank you so much for all of that. Is there any classes or speakers that you want to highlight, kind of just a must attend? If you're going to be at the show, like this is one you don't want to miss.
You mean besides Greg Garrett?
Yeah, besides Greg Garrett. I mean, if it's Greg Garrett, let's talk about that. Why is that one going to be so good?
Well, I already did talk at length about his role in the Northeast in the winterization panel. As I mentioned earlier, we have a program around workforce challenges, and I think that's going to be well attended, and we're kind of excited to see what comes out of it. Probably the most unique program that we have running this year it's actually at the wall, and it's called Shotcrete Uncovered. And it's going to be a classroom session, but then it's also going to exist at the wall as in the demonstration area, so people can flow through and see it throughout the day. But we actually went up to a contractor's facility, brought in concrete, and shot sample shotcrete walls. We shot them right, we shot them wrong. We did the right kind of spacing. For example, we played with the spacing on the rebar. Things like that, shot at the wrong angles, filmed the whole thing with a bunch of different cameras from different angles, including GoPro views of the actual shooter. and are tying that all together so it's going to be a combination presentation of some video demonstration coupled with the actual samples, which we're bringing to the show. So you'll not only be able to see what the finished surface looks like, but when we strip the forms away of these samples, you'll see what the back looks like when there's voids, when you do it wrong, or when it's done right. I think it's going to be something very unique that people haven't seen before. We haven't done anything like this before with concrete. So we're excited about it. Bill Drakely, Drakely Industries, is the instructor. He's very involved with our organization and also the American Concrete Association and American Shotcrete Institute. That should be really exciting and something very, very unique. If you build concrete pools or if you contract people to do that service for you and you just want to learn more about are they doing it right and what should I be looking for, it should be a very interesting and unique presentation and kind of interactive. So very excited about that.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah, sounds super awesome. All right, we'll kind of wrap it up here a little bit. Can you just let people know, like where to find you?
Sure. So the association's website is www.nespapool.org, NESPA pool.org. The show's website is thepoolandspashow.org, and our Facebook is, you can search us on Facebook at Northeast Spa and Pool Association. It's facebook.com/Northeast Spa Pool ASSOC.
Awesome. Well, thanks for spending some time with us today, Dominick. We appreciate you and your time and letting us know about the show. We think it's really important. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you guys. Looking forward to meeting you.
Thanks. You too. Bye.
Thank you guys so much for listening. We truly appreciate your time and your ear. It means the world to us that you guys take time out of your day to hang out with us in the Pool Chasers community. So we appreciate all of you. And if you have any questions, please email us at poolchasers.info@gmail.com. Please check out our Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube pages. And check out the Facebook group as well if you have not already. It's been an insane value in there. I've seen so many cool conversations. Greg and I are so proud of you guys for all you're doing in there. So thank you for all the positivity. Also, if you guys are listening to the podcast, if you could take a picture or screenshot of it and share it on your social platforms, that way we can grow this community. That would be great. Tag us in it so we can say thank you as well. And if you got any pictures of you wearing the Pool Chasers mixer hats or any of the other swag, it would be awesome to see you guys in it. So take a picture, tag us, and we'll try to reshare it. Also, it would mean the world to us if you guys could go to Apple iTunes, leave a review and rating for the podcast. It really helps us there. So thank you again for your time, and we hope you enjoyed the episode.
See you out there, Pool Chasers.